Strength, warrior,
There you go.
father of superbulous.
Sounds like my day-to-day, that.
Big cheese.
Not big cheese. Medium
Medium cheese?
Medium-sized cheese, I think.
Medium cheese.
Sometimes what the client wants might not necessarily be what the client needs.
100%.
And, to bring it back to our business, we've got this belief of actually where the value comes, particularly from the day-to-day teams, is how you go beyond the brief. I feel like a bit of an imposter sat here, actually, because I never really sort of identified as someone of a diverse background, even though I am. You've got to be the critical friend sometimes to a client to be like, I hear what you're saying here, but actually here's what we're seeing. And then I think you get into really interesting debates and tension points that bring out the best out of both teams. Synergies already?
Already, right?
Synergies.
I started these conversations to discuss leadership, mentorship, growth, and so much more from voices you may not have heard from before. I hope the conversations inspire you, motivate you, and give you something to think about. This is Leadership in Colour from myself, Shezak Khan, supported and powered by me. Welcome to Leadership in Colour. This is a slightly different looking episode today. New venue, or well, let's see, trying something out. But really pleased to have in this venue with me, Anthony. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. You Anthony, Ant, what are you preferring?
Ant's good.
Ant's good.
Ant's good.
Yeah.
Better than some of the other nicknames I've had, so it's not bad.
So look, I usually don't do a very good introduction, but you sent over a great little bit of blurb, or your team did, right?
The polished marketing
Yeah. And so I think it would be remiss of me to not read it out and not say
Go for it.
Yeah. So Anthony, they've said, Ant, leads client experience at the Kite Factory, having previously held positions at Manning Gottlieb. He joined the Kite Factory in 2019 and led the charge on diversifying the client portfolio, expanding capabilities in new categories and within the leadership group. Yeah, in new categories and within the leadership. Okay, right. I would have probably written that a little bit differently.
I'll pass on the feedback.
Yeah, pass.
Can you just rewrite it for me in the room?
Basically, I think he said something about you being the big cheese. Well, hang on.
No, that's a...
Kite Factory, known for cultivating strong client relationships, fostering media creativity and commercial acumen at its core, Anthony has helped transform the agency's approach to client servicing and planning output. As a member of the SLT, he works alongside leadership to shape agency strategic direction and strengthen industry and client relationships. Really sorry, I forgot how to read this. Really sorry that I didn't do the service that I wanted to.
That's great.
But I would say that does feel like a big role.
It's a big role, but supported by an incredible team.
Yeah,
I think we're very fortunate actually to have the SLT that we've got. It's an ambitious business. It's a very different business to the one I worked at previously. Manning Gottlieb was a fantastic agency as well, doing great things. And when this opportunity came up, I was like, sounds like something I want to be a part of. And it's just been great. Obviously, it comes with the challenges of, growing a business, an independent business as well, but also huge reward. So, very fortunate to be where I am. And got a great team with us as well. So,
thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, first question is always tell me about your name. And your name is Anthony Abou-Zeid.
Abou-Zeid, that's right, yeah.
Right. Zaid, by the way, my oldest boy's name.
Very
so,
good.
yeah. So,
synergies already?
Already, right?
Synergies.
So tell me about the name.
Yeah, so obviously Anthony's. And so the surname's a Lebanese surname.
Right.
So my family, or my heritage is Lebanese. My parents left Lebanon in the mid to late 80s. A very apt time to be having this conversation, actually, because, very similar circumstances back in the day, and moved to Australia, where I had some family that had immigrated over from there because of the Civil War. And my brothers and I were all born in Australia. So Anthony was my grandfather's name as well. So in Lebanese culture, you tend to take on the paternal grandfather's name. It's not always the case, but sometimes it just so happened that both of mine, maternal and paternal grandfathers, were Tony and Anthony, so it made sense.
That helps.
That's the name, the surname's from Lebanon.
Do you think that was like the thing that your dad liked the most? It's like, hey, look, if we have a kid, I'm not going to have that argument.
Just do that.
Yeah.
It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. But do you know what the name means?
Well, Abou-Zeid?
Yeah. Or
Do you
even
know what?
Anthony?
I don't think I do. I remember my uncle speaking about something to do with strength
Okay.
or something. And I'm not making this up, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, it might be. I don't know. You got to fact check me, but I don't actually know the etymology. So you might want to look it up.
We can look it up. So I know Zaid,
Yeah.
only because that's my boy's name.
Yeah.
Zaid means superbulous.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and so the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had an adopted son called Zaid.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's whoops,
Ah.
don't hit this mic. So that's Zaid.
There you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So Abu's usually father of, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so father of Zaid, I guess, right?
Father of the superbulous.
Yeah. Father's. Yeah. I mean,
Maybe that should be in the intro.
I mean,
Can I
we
rewrite
can
the bio with
rewrite
that?
it. Look, let me just send your team some notes.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So strength,
There
warrior,
you go.
father of superbulous,
Sounds like my day to day. That
big cheese,
not a big cheese. Medium
medium cheese,
sized cheese. I think.
medium cheese. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Medium cheese is a
good.
brilliant name for the podcast. So tell me about your day to day. What is your role? Because we worked at we walked through that intro, but usually I find that the title and what people think you do is usually quite different to what you actually do.
Yeah. Look, I think every day's very different for me.
Yeah.
Primarily, if you want to get into the business of it, it's growing our business. So that's organic growth, new business opportunities, developing marketing collateral with the marketing team as well to showcase how we present the business to the wider industry, and just developing on what we've got from a tools and capability perspective. Obviously, not all me, with a very good team supporting that, and that includes our COO, CEO as well. So that's on the business,
Right?
And then with my client hat on, sort of shepherding our clients through tumultuous times, I suppose. Seeing how we do the best work for them, growing their businesses as well. I know it's such a cliche thing to say, and a lot of agencies tend to say it, but in terms of our behavior, we do sort of position ourselves as a credible business partner for clients. So obviously, I direct stakeholders, the CMOs and the marketing team, but that goes beyond that. It's how we start to get into some of the commercial discussions that are happening with our clients, right through to the CFO sometimes. So it's how we can essentially deliver the best that we can for our client's business. And my role in that is to make sure that we are doing that. I'm accountable to it. And then the planning output of the team. So, I'm fortunate enough to have, a 20 people strong planning team that sits underneath me, incredible talents, all of them. And they just do the work and do exceptional work as well. So it's all a big ecosystem, right? Without sounding too wanky. But.
No. I don't think you sound wanky yet. I think we got a little bit more leeway on that one, but a little bit more. So if you're a newbie in the industry, or you're someone that's looking, because growing up, I knew about advertising. I'm actually one of the very, very few in the industry who actually wanted to work in advertising.
Same.
Yeah?
Yeah. I did a marketing
Mate, love
degree.
to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Hey,
another
here we
one.
are.
It's always great to see another one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I did a marketing degree as well.
Yeah.
I think there are about 5 of us in the industry who wanted to be in the industry and are in the industry.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people of diverse backgrounds that do end up here. But there are many that don't know that this is an option for them. This is a route, and actually you can have a fantastic career in this industry. And I think it's quite a warm industry. I
agree.
So for those people who are perhaps either looking at a career or looking at a career change, or maybe just want to understand the agency side of the business a little bit more, can you explain in real terms, where does your hand hit the ad and the strategy? What is it that you're supporting?
In terms of the actual creation?
Yeah.
So we do the media planning and the buying. So we look at audience strategy, market context, what's the founding insight that's going to give this brand the best opportunity to succeed, how we plan for growth, and how we mitigate some of the risk that comes with, allocating capital into marketing, which is a big topic, particularly over the last couple of years. So in terms of me specifically, it's what's the business challenge? And let's not just talk about that through the marketing lens. It's what's the broader business challenge? And then how do we address that from a media planning and buying perspective? And that's where strategy is really, really important. and having the right capabilities from an analytics perspective to measure what is meaningful success. Arbitrary media KPIs are arbitrary.
Absolutely.
I think we need to. There's a lot of great work being done at the moment, and I know this isn't the focus of today, but it's how do we start to talk the language of business, and how we start to demonstrate how media agencies, who are developing, by the way, in terms of their capabilities, really create value for clients. So for us, it's what's the challenge, and how do we, within our gift, help you succeed there.
And I really appreciate you breaking it down like that, because I do agree with you that there is a language that we use within our industry that somewhat translates into the business world, but not always, right? So on occasion, it can feel like we're sat with the client.
Yeah.
We're sat with the media agency. We could be sat with the publisher. We could be sat with ad tech. And we're all trying to say the same thing.
Yeah.
But we're using different vernacular and verbiage, and it can feel quite a struggle. There are some people that I know that they communicate extremely well, mostly because they've stripped out all the acronyms and all the jargon, and they've just gone straight into it.
Look, I think one of the most destructive things in our business is just not having clarity on what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. It's just, and I think that comes from the culture that you cultivate between the agency and the client in this perspective, in this example. The supply chain as well, our media partners see it, when you've got a really strong relationship with the people that you work with, they tend to start to see the world in the way that the agency does. And then when we are trying to speak back to a client, you're all aligned in terms of what we're saying and how that's going to resonate with them, because they've got their own day-to-day challenges, and not all of them is going to be steeped in marketing, in media jargon.
Absolutely.
So it's like just distilling it, making it really clear, and just saying, look, this is the challenge. Here's how we're going to get from point A to point B. It's not linear, by the way. It's going to be topsy-turvy, but we're going to try and mitigate that as best we can. But just be really clear on what we're trying to do. And I think it starts to get a bit convoluted when there is no clarity. So everyone sort of goes into protectionist mode and is like, oh, but we only do this bit and we do this bit. And it becomes increasingly more fragmented. And that's when language and vernacular starts to, I think, create more confusion rather than clarity.
I mean, you jokingly said the word synergy earlier, and
sorry about that.
No,
you can edit that out. I didn't mean to. That was in the first 2 minutes as well.
Yeah, no. We're going to make that your opening line.
No, can't.
In fact, that's going to be the blooper reel on Instagram. It's just going to be you saying synergy. But interoperability is another one that we use in the industry quite a bit, and I do think that interoperability is, it doesn't just go to ad tech. It also goes to, exactly to your point, how we communicate with each other, and ensuring that we're working towards that goal, right? And that goal is ultimately whatever the client wants.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's got to be a win-win, though.
Yeah,
I think sometimes what the client wants might not necessarily be what the client needs.
100%.
And to bring it back to our business, we've got this belief of actually where the value comes, particularly from the day-to-day teams, is how you go beyond the brief. It's how you start to understand what is actually behind what's written down in a document to then brief the media agency. What I try to say to the guys is we want to get to a point where we don't need a brief.
Yeah.
Because we know the challenges, and we know how to then address those and iterate those over time. So I think it's got to be a win-win, and also you've got to be the critical friend sometimes to a client, to be like, I hear what you're saying here, but actually here's what we're seeing. And then I think you get into really interesting debates and tension points that bring out the best out of both teams, rather than be, a sycophant and be like, yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's what clients value. So yes, absolutely do what the client needs sometimes rather than what they want. But it's got to be, I think, a pragmatic discussion.
No, I appreciate that question. I think that's actually spot on. That's absolutely spot on. And at the end of the day, you're not there to give them everything they want. You are there to give them what they need. Yeah. So you've had a fantastic career leading up to this role. Can we walk through that a little bit? So you did a marketing degree.
I did a marketing degree.
So at what point did you have that light bulb moment to say that you wanted to work in advertising?
That's an interesting question. I actually wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid.
Okay.
So here we go. Here's the story.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I'd rather be a lawyer, because I just like to argue with my parents. And my dad was like, oh, you should definitely, you know what, like,
Yeah.
ethnic parents alike, doctor, lawyer. No, to be fair, they were never very pushy. As long as you did well at school, that was the
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah.
But then I had a really good business studies teacher when I was at secondary school, and I always thought I was quite a good lateral thinker. So I was always quite creative when I came to addressing challenges and problems. But I also liked the theoretical side of how you get to an answer. So it was almost like an applied science mindset, I suppose. And I didn't know that back in the day when I was thinking about this. But as I sort of talked through it, and then I just really liked the theory behind advertising. I liked what it looked like. I liked that you could be a bit sort of mischievous, but actually make an impact. And then I watched Mad Men.
Yeah.
I was like, this is definitely it. No, but I did think, as I was going through secondary school, I was like, this is something that I can really excel in. And I just found myself, I wasn't just chewing through, the syllabus. I was actually like really enjoying it. And I had my parents put me in contact with a few people that were in the industry, and I had a conversation around, what is it? What does it look like? Spoke to my teachers about it. And then I was like, when it was time to start to make a decision on that, thought that was the route to go down. So that's sort of how I went, how I got there. And then at university, obviously, like if you excel at something, you do well in it. So I did really well in that. And then I knew exactly where I wanted to go. Now, coming out of university, you don't really know what the starting point is. You can go to one of the, your P&Gs and Unilevers, sure. You can go into consultancy, sure. It just so happened that one of my mates got into media. It's like, look, there's an opening. Do you fancy it? And as a grad, I was like, sure, let's crack on. And I actually started my career as a TV buyer.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So I was a TV planner buyer for a few years, and I moved into what AV or what investment teams would call the dark side, which is planning or comms planning. And that's where I sort of, built from there. So that was sort of how I got there. I mean, I don't know how unique that is to other people. I think it's pretty standard stuff. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think that there's definitely a few things in there that are particularly interesting. So, for example, what I hear from you loud and clear is that, first, you got great taste in TV shows. I quite like Mad Men too. I don't like any of the bad bits, of course, but I love all the good stuff.
It's of the era.
Well, yeah, exactly. But what I'm hearing is that there was something in leaning in on your network and also the network of those around you, right?
Yeah.
So your parents helping you through that, I'm assuming their network, right?
Yeah. Like it would be so dad's a journalist.
Okay. All right.
So he actually, if I take it back a bit, mum and dad were both teachers in Australia. Dad also did journalism, so he used to work for the SBS over there, as well as teaching. And then he was brought over to the UK to work for the BBC.
Okay.
So then he he was in media, I suppose, in that sort of media. And then speaking with him, going into the workplace as well, seeing what those guys were doing. And then from that, connecting the dots, saying, obviously, media is such an expansive industry. Like, where do I fit in all this? And then just piecing bits together from that. And yeah, absolutely, like with dad's help and mum's counsel, Yeah. You tend to make
what else do you need
at that point? What
else
do you need?
No, absolutely. No, that first step that is is super helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there are that many people from minority backgrounds or diverse backgrounds who have that opportunity. So it's fantastic that you did, right?
Yeah. I think we spoke about this when I first. When you first approached me, and I was like, I feel like a bit of an imposter sat here, actually, because I know this is about leadership in colour and diversity. I never really sort of identified as someone of a diverse background, even though I am. And I think that comes from a couple of things. So I was born in Australia, so that was sort of my home. It's what I knew. I think in Australia's a very multicultural country. There are, a lot of sort of Italian, Greeks, Asian, Middle Eastern, as well as, your Australians, I suppose. Well, there's the Aboriginals and there's the natives. I said, not the natives. What am I trying to say? Like the Anglo-Saxons, but I don't think we can put that in.
Yeah.
And you're all part of that nation. there isn't really much distinction in someone who was like a white Australian versus someone who was an Australian of colour. So in terms of my psyche, that was never a thing that I really thought about.
Did that change when you came here?
A little bit, but it was more later on, because I think society in the UK, there are similarities, but also there are a lot of differences. It's some of the conversations that I would have, particularly sort of through the latter parts of school and then into universities. Where did what school did you go to, or what university did you go to, or what do your parents do? And it sort of, I was like, these are such a random start to questioning, because I've only just told you my name.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to connect it a little bit. Well, actually, I think where you come from and, your sort of your family's heritage plays a big part in identity, which is cool. Like, if that's what it is. But I never really took a beat and sort of said, well, would that same line of questioning be
it's an interesting one
who's looked a bit different with a different surname? I don't know. So and then you assimilate very quickly as well. Coming here as a youngster, you do, because you want to fit into your, in your peer group, and I always thought that was just the way you did it. And I never really thought about, well, actually my worldview might be slightly different, maybe because of my family's, the family dynamics or the family upbringing and the worldview of people that have left a war-torn country back in the day to start a new life. Maybe there is some baggage there that you might hold on to, but I never really thought about it like that. I just thought, I'm an Australian. I'm now in the UK. I live in England. By and large, I feel English.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived here for the majority of my life. So yeah, it's a really, I feel, I don't know, sometimes I feel like
it's a very, very interesting one. And the reason why it's a very interesting one is because a very close friend of mine was over here, and he moved over to Australia. He's actually a New Zealander, and he went over to Australia, and he's got an Australian girlfriend. And we're talking on the phone last year, and I said, "Oh right, cool. Where's she from?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, she's Australian." I said, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, but like, what's her heritage? Like, where's she from?"
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't understand what you're trying to say here. And eventually he sort of said to me that she was, I don't know what she was, like maybe Greek or something, right?
Yeah.
And I apologize for not remembering that part. But he's like, this is a frowned upon conversation in Australia. Like, you don't ask these questions. You don't ask like where someone's heritage is. They either, they could offer it up, but they don't have that conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone's Australian.
Exactly right.
And over here, I would say, I went to a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, so where are you from?
Yeah.
And then I've moved to an area that is a little bit more diverse, and I'm hanging out with what I think are my people.
Yeah.
Right. And the conversation goes from, no, which city are you from now? And then like tell me about. In fact, before what city you're from, it's usually what do you do for a living. So I would say that it's just like cultural nuances, right? Like
exactly
it's just the way to navigate. I think that there are definitely opportunities to be offended there, and I think you're rightfully offended depending on the tone on how that's delivered.
Yeah,
where you from, right? If it's not delivered with a little bit of curiosity and and the context of it, you can maybe be taken aback. But usually it's just like a cultural thing. People just seem to ask that question. It's like in the UK.
Yeah.
I feel like if we didn't have bad weather, what would we talk about?
What would we talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I didn't get offended about much. And I just took it as it's just a thing. It's just a cultural nuance, and that was cool. I had no, why are you asking me that? I didn't overthink it. But it like to your point, it just wasn't how you'd engage with someone new in Australia, because everyone's under that banner of being Australian. I'm not saying they've got their own problems as well as this, the rest of the world at the moment. But yeah, I was okay with it. I just thought it was the way it was, and that was it.
If I was to ask you, where do you feel like you're from?
Yeah.
Like where do you feel most at home?
Yeah.
Is that the UK because you've been here most of your life? or would that be Australia, or would that be Lebanon? Like where would it be?
It's hard because I've got I'm married with a lovely young boy. He's almost 2 years old, and I've built a life here. So naturally, I feel.
Where's your wife from?
She's English.
She's English.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So Gemma's from England. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is my home.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some of my best friends here. It's where I've built my life, my career, everything that goes around that. But also, I don't forget that I did have a period of time in Australia, and that also added something to me as a person, which which I've incorporated into my worldview. But I was young then.
Mm-hmm.
But then, in the background, you've also got the influence of your heritage. So I don't know how you feel. When I go back to Lebanon for holidays, won't be going this year, but there's a feeling that you get, which is like, I'm surrounded by so many of me.
Yes.
There's like a natural,
100%.
I don't know, affinity with the place. And also because the stories that your parents told you, and then the stories that you heard from, your forefathers, and all of that, I suppose, does something to you. But I couldn't live there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the customs and the way of life there are great for some people, awful for others. It depends how much money you've got, what your religion is. That's a huge part of all that. But it's a fantastic place, and it sort of works. But it works for people that have always lived there.
Mm.
So I recognise that it's part of me and my heritage. But could I live there tomorrow? No. Australia is definitely part of me, and I've still got friends and family there. But if you ask me, where's home? Home's the UK. It's England. So I know it's not a binary answer, but I don't think it can be just because of my experiences. I don't know.
I think it's the right answer because that's how you feel, and the reality is that I can totally relate. And when I go to Pakistan, which is where my family's from, I have to admit, there's a part of me that feels like, this could be home, right?
Yeah.
But more than that, I do feel like a bit of an outsider, a bit of an imposter. I walk a little bit differently to everybody else. I talk obviously very differently from everybody else. I don't have those memories, and I haven't watched the TV shows, and I don't know the local jokes.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like a native, but it's a very nice place to visit, and the food is amazing. And by the way, if anyone wants to go to Pakistan, it's beautiful. Some parts are really, really beautiful. Yeah. But I'd almost rather stay in dreary London. Only because, of course, home is going to be the place that you've invested your time.
Of course.
And you've built your network, and your friends are here, and you're just accustomed to everything.
Exactly that. And, I think other people might feel differently. I'm of the same opinion that you are. It's part of you. It's part of your heritage. It's part of your culture. But also, you've got other strings to that bow. Beirut's a great place to visit, or Lebanon generally.
Yeah.
It's honestly the people there are insane. It's just amazing. So maybe we should have like a Beirut.
So Pakistan this year,
Pakistan Beirut, Pakistan Lebanon sort of.
Would you just take this show on the road?
I think
are we selling tickets in the affiliate links? Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through any sort of mentors that you might have had, because you've got a fantastic role. I'm sure there's got to have been a little bit of support to.
Sure.
Yeah. So have you had any mentors?
Yeah. Yes, both in the formal and informal capacity.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can get anywhere in your career without having mentorship. I think it's just, and people are so generous with their time. How that impacts you particularly in your early phase of your career, I think are incredible. So, in terms of mentorships, my previous boss, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out, Ollie Cooper. He was on the board at MG. He's on the exec there, and he was for this sort of middle portion of my career. He taught me everything I knew, pretty much, both directly and indirectly. He was a friend as well. He was a friend. He was a colleague. But we became, this team, and the way that he would give me his time and show me what good looks like without necessarily saying, do it this way, but here's another perspective. What do you think? And giving you enough rope and autonomy. So when you did make a mistake, it was like, that's okay. Like, that's the space to fail in, but here's how we're going to support you to get on and to rectify that. And it's very hard to articulate because it was a very soft approach to mentorship. It was just looking at how we went about business and how he did his work and how, the conversations that he was having when you weren't necessarily meant to be part of that conversation. They say learning by osmosis is one of the most important things. But for me, he was really sort of that sort of official mentor, I suppose, without putting a label on it. A lot of people that I worked with in that team would probably say the same thing about him.
Yeah.
Incredible guy. And he's doing great things now as well. And then sort of more recently, as you get into, I suppose, management positions, and you've got to look up and see, how other people have done that as well. And last year or so, I've had a mentor in Natalie Bell, who was chief exec at MG, but now doing a bigger role. I hope she doesn't mind me calling her out either. But she's been a really good sort of sounding board for some of the things that we've got to discuss. It's a very open forum, and it's more just sort of, using that time to just knock around ideas and get her perspectives on some things that, I just haven't been privy to. But then as well as that, you've got people around you. So, you've got the team at the Kite Factory who you learn off of as well. And it's one of those things that it's a continuous journey, right? Learning and having the right people around you, I think, would just give you mentorship directly and indirectly. So that's how I've sort of done it. But yeah, Ollie and Natalie have both been super useful and helpful and really generous at their times as well.
Was there a particular bit of advice or a quote that runs or rings in your ears every now and then?
I don't think so. So Ollie and I and the team at the time, we cultivated this saying, just like, be better.
Okay.
It was stupid. It was like a silly thing.
Yeah.
It came, I think we were just having a bit, it wasn't like a formal, here's some wisdom, be better. It wasn't that. It was just something that we just kept going back to. And I think that's sort of stuck in my head because it's easy to remember and it's true. Just be better. There was one thing actually, when I first started at Manning Gottlieb, at the time we had our Steve Williams was the chief executive at the time, and he did this breakfast sort of session with all the new starters. And there's one thing he said which has stuck with me actually, but he was talking to the group at the time, was in this industry, it's better to be liked than disliked. Now that's very subjective in terms of how you interpret that, but I think from a behavior perspective, I think that's true because it's people. You're dealing with people have emotions, people are irrational, and it's the best of people and the worst of people, but just be a good person. I think it sounds very glib to say that, but that's something that's always been, in the back of your mind and sometimes can guide your behavior in difficult circumstances. It's better to be liked than disliked. And it's not to say there's one right, I think people have built very successful careers, maybe being more the protagonist, that's fine. But yeah, I think that was from a very sort of early period of my career, that was something that stuck in my mind.
I think it's very good advice. The reality is that there are opportunities, or there are moments where you can decide if you're going to be taking the route where you're not going to be liked, or you're going to take the route where you are going to be liked. And you got to make the call on what's going to help you more, right? I mean, there are some decisions that you're going to make that you're definitely not going to make.
100%.
I mean, if you're rolling out redundancies or what have you, you're not going to be liked, right? But the way that you support people through that. So I had a member of my team years ago who said to me that he gave me very, very honest, candid feedback, and he said, it was like, look, the opening to telling me that I was being made redundant, you were shit at that. Like you just didn't do very well.
Yeah.
And that was because I had to read off of a script. I was like, bound by that. But after that, when you spoke to me and you walked me through what was going to happen and how you're going to support me and that was great. Now, so that is, I felt like that was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't to be liked. It was really to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And as a byproduct of that, of course, he and I still have a very good and solid relationship. There are obviously other times when maybe that's more difficult. So I think it's very, very good advice.
Yeah, and that's not to say, you I suppose you make decisions with that lens on. Exactly to your point, we have to have there are things that we have to do sometimes that are really, really challenging. But I think it goes back to that point around doing the right thing, and I think empathy and having really high EQ in those instances is where it makes a real difference to whoever it's impacting. So, as I think about it, liked and disliked, that again, they are quite sort of arbitrary things, because you're right. Sometimes you might not be liked for a decision, but that shouldn't guide what you're doing. But it's doing the right thing. I think that's the most important thing, and doing the right thing by your people as well. Definitely.
So, again, there are quite a few grassroots listeners.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them on, if they're looking at the industry, or if they're looking to come up, or maybe they're in the industry and they're looking for that next step up?
Is this where the cliches start to kick in?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because your experience is very different to other people's. But I think, particularly in our industry, it's, you've got to be inquisitive. Like, no matter what level you are, no matter what role you do, if you're in FinOps right through to planning or buying or strategy, or just be inquisitive and just ask why. Why have we done it like this? How else can we do it? If it's the right thing to do. Other than that, it's sort of very difficult, right? Because people might be in roles where I don't know how much rope they've got for that. But I think the one guiding point for me is always just ask the question and just take a beat. Don't do it just because it's conventional wisdom. It's the beauty of our business and our industry is you want to trod the path that is, the benefit of our industry is you want to go into places where people may not have gone before, new thinking, iterate on existing thoughts. So just inquisitive, ask why, and listen, active listening. It's not like, don't prepare what you're going to say. Just listen, take a beat, and then see how you can really add value. And don't forget who you are as a person either. I think personality matters more than ever. Again, if you think a bit more broadly, the industry is largely becoming more and more commoditized, particularly, planning and buying at scale. Buying is becoming automated, undifferentiated. And there are a lot of interesting things that businesses are doing, particularly in the independent space, but also above that as well in the holdcos, where you are starting to find differentiation. But I think the biggest differentiator now is talent. You've got to assume that most agencies out there are going to do the fundamentals well. Otherwise, they won't have any clients, right? So where does it start to get really interesting? It's creativity. It's the talent, and all of that really comes from the people that you're hiring and how they inject their personality and their worldview into the thinking. I don't mean to sound like, to pontificate on this, but I think that's really, really important to bring yourself into the workspace and think a bit differently, or not, whatever works.
So is that to say that you want to bring people on board that have a similar cultural view, or is it a similar political view, or is it a similar ethical view, or are we talking more about work ethic and drive and determination and desire to? Because I feel like a few years ago there was a lot of conversation about bring your whole self to the business. I thought it sounded really nice.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it.
Okay,
and the reason why I don't agree with it is because actually, I want you to bring whatever it is that you need to bring to deliver the best results within the business. So if that means dressing in a particular way, great. If that means taking breaks at certain times, great, right? If whatever it means, I don't really care. But what I care about is more like us as a business and the results. Like a business is built for results, right?
Absolutely.
So, and we get better results, and then we deliver more to the people, and the people deliver better results, and then it's it's that sort of and that's very much simplifying it.
Yeah,
But there's obviously other factors at play there. So when you're talking about the talent pool, I think we can get stuck in conversations about almost going back a step, where organizations and leaders were essentially hiring more of the same.
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's been a lot of empirical studies as well out there that show that diversity of thought and culture creates growth.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we need more of the same. But also, it depends what the team dynamic is and what the agency dynamic is and where the gaps are. Sometimes it might just so happen that someone who comes into the business has a similar perspective, but that's not how you should plan for it or would plan for it necessarily. So it's not more of the same, but it's cultivating a team where different thinking and different perspectives creates better outcome. There are tools and techniques, but a lot of it is also instinctive in how well do you know the business that you work in to be able to clinically ascertain where the gaps are in the business to create growth, not just for the agency or your business, but also your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's finding the right people for the right moment in time and giving them the opportunity to grow with the team. So that's how I sort of see it. It's making sure you're casting the right talent for the situation that you are going to be in for the next 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know if that answers your question.
No,
and also your point earlier around political view, all of that stuff. You don't want to bring you don't want to create a rift. So you don't want anything too hardline in there. I think we can have an open discussion, maybe outside of a work forum with your colleagues, but I don't. I think bring yourself in a positive, in the most positive way where you can add value.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like, how are you creating value? And there isn't, there's only one of me. There's only one of Shez.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you necessarily need another one of you. You probably need someone that's going to help
complement
you
that
and complement that and be a foil.
Yeah.
So that's how I sort of see it.
Have you ever done the Clifton Strengths Finders? It might be called the Gallup Clifton Strengths Finders or something like that.
No, but we recently, probably about a year ago, did. It's called profit analysis, but not profit from a like a monetary perspective. It was where sort of your skill sets lie, and I can't remember what the categories are, but it's like entrepreneurial or driver or operational genius, whatever it is. So we did that for the SRT, and you could quickly see where people's natural strengths lay. Not to say that they couldn't do the other stuff, but it was almost like where would they differ naturally based on their sort of makeup. And that was really interesting because actually we were quite a nice spread. There were, I think, out of, when you look at the matrix, I think there was only 2 people that were sort of there or thereabouts. But broadly, it was all really complementary. I'd like to say that was, intentional, but that was sort of a happy accident in that instance. But it works well. So therefore, that's why it works well. But I know there are loads of other ones that you can do. I think I'd done one ages ago when I was like red with a bit of blue and a bit of yellow.
Is that the MBTI?
I think so. This was years ago. Yeah. I'm talking like over a decade ago.
Yeah, there are definitely there are a few. Would you ever use that when hiring? Would you ever look to get people to do these sort of tests? Because I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
We thought about it as well. And I think the view was context is everything. And maybe we are standardizing a process where you need a bit of slack in it because, going back to that point of, becoming increasingly commoditized, you certainly don't want to commoditize the hiring policy. So we decided against it just because we thought it was important that people got in on merit as well. And I think you really get to understand, as much as a 2-3 week hiring process gives you opportunity to understand a person. So yeah, I think we were sort of split down the middle, and then we agreed actually maybe not the best use of that. But I don't there's pros and cons, right?
How big's the team?
At the Kite Factory, we are just shy of 100.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's big enough, but it's also still quite small, right? In the way that I feel as though. If you're a huge organization, maybe this helps you a lot more. Though I can see the argument for a small organization as well.
Yeah.
But it's, I guess you're doing a lot of hiring on gut feeling.
No, it's not gut feeling. So there are obviously checks and balances in place to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And we give our hiring managers, quite a lot of autonomy to make the right decision for their teams, because sometimes coming in on those, in those processes where you might not necessarily have the day-to-day contact with that person, it feels unfair to say, well, actually, I think it's this. You can give your advice, but effectively, let's see how you want to structure your teams.
So what I mean is you go through the entire process, and then if you've got 2 or 3 people, at the end of the day, it's got to go on gut feeling. It's got to go. So I didn't mean like you just sort of see someone and then, hey, you're great.
That'd be
join
great.
the team.
I don't think HR would.
Yeah. I know a few people that do that, but I think that as in you're applying an element of science to it.
Yes.
But not that level of science to it. Yeah.
It's a people business.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a people industry.
Yeah.
So you've got to have that spark, I think.
I think the most important thing, going back to your other point, is we just got to get on. Almost everything else can be taught, right? There are some things I really would love for you to know if you're joining the team.
Yeah.
But actually, if I know it, then I can teach you it. And I would love to get your perspective. What I really want to ensure is that we've got similar drivers.
Yeah.
And that we get on.
Exactly right.
What are you working on at the moment that you're allowed to talk about?
Well,
or what's keeping you up at night?
We're a really ambitious leadership team and business. So it's where we are allocating capital and people's time. Is it the right thing? The consensus is yes, absolutely. Can we get there faster? I feel like there is this sort of push to keep iterating for the sake of it. I think what we're building here is a way to have a really robust business that is future proof, knowing where the external pressures are coming from and how the industry is changing. But maybe it's just a me thing. Like, let's keep going. Let's get there faster. To the annoyance of others, I think sometimes. So for me, it's like, are we getting there fast enough? And what's the next thing?
It feels like you don't think that you're getting there fast enough.
I think we probably are. Actually,
you are?
I think what we've done, and I've got to credit Ben, who's our COO, as well as his team. Some of the stuff that him and the team have built in the last year would have taken years for other businesses. I say that as a general. I don't know. Maybe people could have got there faster, but I think we're going at the right pace. We are stress testing to the best of our ability, but not being sort of caught up by, paralysis by overanalysis either. We just need to make sure that, is this going to add value for our clients? Yes. Is it going to add value for our business? Yes. Is it going to get people excited to talk about it? Absolutely. Let's do it. And then what's the next thing? So I think we are getting there. But
so you're making quick decisions?
Relatively, actually, I'd say.
Okay.
Some quick, some not so quick. Again, it's a continuum, right? And these things modulate over time, and some things might need a bit of time. Some things might, you just got to go. Just got to go for it and see how you get, where it takes us. But as long as the hypothesis is strong enough, and we think that it's gonna really supercharge what we're trying to do here, let's go for it. And that's the beauty of an agile independent, right? It's you've got the slack in the P&L to be able to do this sort of stuff. As long as you believe that there is a business case for it, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we don't change, we don't move, and we'll be stuck trying to overanalyze everything we do. So I think we're going at a good pace, but I'm really excited with the work that we're doing. So that's what I think. That's what's keeping me up. Just keep going, keep doing it. This sounds really cliche, actually, doesn't it? So I don't mean it like that, but yeah, it's just, what's the next thing? As long as it's, going to create any impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, no. I can feel the energy.
Yeah.
I can feel the energy. I'm looking forward to seeing where this conversation goes, and in terms of like where you take the business. I'm
excited as well. I think, like I said at the top of the program, we've got a really strong team, all pushing in the same direction, and I think it's going to be really exciting few years for us. So no, I share your excitement, and I'm glad you feel the energy, because that's really important as well. So the closing tradition on this podcast is you name the podcast. So you name the episode. Oh, should we go Be Better? Sure. We can do Be Better. I don't know if anyone's going to be any better off after listening to this, but It's quite.
I
Got
thought
quite an edgy little theme, isn't it?
well, I thought if you were going to go edgy, I
Yeah.
was going to say visit Lebanon.
Not
But-
right now.
No, not right now.
But do in the coming years. Do in the coming years.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Should we get Be Better?
Be better, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank
Yeah.
thank you for being a fantastic guest on this episode. Be better. That's the name of the episode. Yeah, I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I think it's been great. And thanks for having me on as well. Appreciate it.